welcome back to my channel. I am very excited. I got my Nightmare on Elm Street order from Glamelite. So I took them out of the box that they were shipped in, but I have not opened any of these and looked at them. So I thought I would do that on camera, and you can get my initial reaction of what I think of the pieces. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to be comparing it to in an upcoming video. And then we will also talk about the Friday the 13th palette and then the video that's going to go with that. So if you're curious and want to see my initial thoughts, then stick around. And then I do have the palettes out that I am going to be doing comparisons with. So yeah, if that all sounds interesting, stick around. If you are new, welcome. Make sure you subscribe if you are not already, and let's jump in. I only got the blush palette and the two eyeshadow palettes. I did not get the lip oil. What else was there? A blush? Not a blush. I got the blush kit, a brush set. I think that was it from the Nightmare on Elm Street. I almost called it the Friday the 13th. The Friday the 13th, I only got the palette. So we'll talk about the palette. But let's... I'm not going to cut the boxes per se, but I may need help getting into said boxes as my nails. So here is the blush. It is, what is this called? The Chest of Souls Blush Trio, and it's got the lenticular. So there's Nightmare on Elm Street, Chest of Souls with the box. And then I got the two palettes. Because of how long, like we're in Thanksgiving, and I know that was not her initial plan, I kind of wish they would have just done one palette. And I think her thought process was she didn't want it to look like a Christmas palette, which I totally get. But because we're kind of near Christmas, I think she could have just done one palette and been fine. But I'm not like overly bothered that there's two palettes, but that's just my 2 cents. So the one palette is, what is this called? Never Sleep Again. The 10 color Dream Master, A Nightmare on Elm Street. So again, you've got the lenticular, and this is the red one. So you can kind of see the color story down there. And then this one is the Freddy Krueger palette. So again, there's that. And then this is the brown and green. So again, you've got color story there. I don't know if I necessarily need to keep the boxes for this. I just need to try and get into it. Oh, yeah. Nope, that wasn't enough. I'm going to open all the boxes so we can speed this process. I do have the box from the Friday the 13th, and I kind of wish they would have done it with all of them, like the Scream, because Scream came out when the video store, like the VHS was still a thing, and done like the VHS boxes for all of them, because they only did it on the Friday the 13th. I feel like there was some sort of missed mark there. So I don't think I need to save the boxes for these, but I do have the box that looks kind of like a giant VHS from I just put it, oh, Lord, in the cabinet. Okay, so let's start. Let me grab the palettes too that I'm going to be using in the video. I just thought this might be fun. If it's not, I'll never do it again. But this is, I have small hands, so I don't know if this isn't accurate, but this is bigger than what I thought it was going to be. So there's like a size. Again, I have small hands. My wedding ring is a 5.5. I have baby hands. Like my husband makes fun of them. Here is like a liquid highlighter. This is the one from About Face, just for size comparison. Because again, this is bigger. Not mad at it than I thought. I don't know why. I think because the Scream blush is in a pretty small little compact. I was thinking this was going to be smaller than it was, but it's a good size. I don't remember what any of this stuff cost. I believe it's all still in stock. So I will link Glamelite's website down below, because I'm pretty sure the Friday, as I'm filming this, all the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th palette, all the Scream stuff is still available. So if you're interested in anything, you can still get it. This has kind of a, I don't know, I'm smelling the glue, I think. And they've been like, it's been bonkers for them with getting like inventory and shipping, so that it doesn't really bother me. I don't think these have, it just talks about the formula. So it doesn't have shade names. So you have a light pink, kind of a darker pink, and a red. And then you got the slash marks, Freddy's outline, and the glove. So I will swatch them, and then I'll swatch them again when I do the video. So there's the light neutral pink, I guess, the brighter pink. I'm kind of going on the edge because I don't want to mess up the imprints. So there's that. Did I need this? No, and I will compare this to like the Scream blush, because I did get that. I did not get the highlighter from the Friday the 13th, and then this one didn't have a highlighter, so, but I will compare this to the Scream blush if anybody's curious. So there's the dark red. Are these gonna look super, I mean, the neutral pink, the lighter one, I think is the one that if you follow the owner on Instagram, I think this is the one she was wearing a lot. But are these all gonna look terribly different on the cheeks? It's really going to depend on how, if you go light with it, I don't know that you're going to see much variation between the first and second shade. If you go darker with it, obviously you're going to see more of a difference, but it's cool. I like it. I like the shades that are in here. I don't think there's a color in here that I won't use. I'm just from a critic standpoint. And then, like I said, in the next video I will get out my Scream blush, and we'll kind of see where that falls in line with this. So it's cool. I like the packaging. Their formula seems good. I also have the Scooby-Doo blushes, so we could kind of look at those too, because those are the only blushes from Glamelite that I have. And then I have the Rick and Morty highlighters, but like I said, I never got the Friday the 13th one because that is supposed to be a blue highlighter, and the Rick and Morty highlighter palette has a blue one. And I'm like, how much difference is there? I don't know. So I didn't think I needed the highlighters, but we'll look at the blushes. So there's that. Okay, let's look at the red palette. Okay, and again, size, like I have the waiting room palette, which is one that I'm going to use in the video. So there's a little spoiler. We've got the color sheet. So we've got a black, a gray, some different degrees of, let's see, there's a lighter, this Chest of Souls looks like the Chest of Souls, which is what this is called. Looks like the blush shade. It's got, this one is a little bit darker, but it's funny to me that they both have the glove imprint in them, but this is a little bit lighter than this Chest of Souls. And then there's like an orangey, shimmery red. That's cool. Dream Warrior is a metallic red. Nancy's like a pewter almost. And then Don't Fall Asleep, it looks like a black with purple shimmer in it. And then you've got Terror and Midnight, so you've got some reds. So I don't dislike this color story. I think it's fun. It's on theme. And then this one's the Freddy Krueger palette. So that was the Dream Master palette. This is the Freddy palette. So I think I like the lenticular on this one just a little more because it's got both the red and the green, but that's just a personal preference if I had to pick between the two. And then the inside is the green and brown. And this one is laid out a little bit differently where you've got the mattes and then the shimmers. And I think they did it like that with this one so that you could do like two shadow looks. crease color, lid color kind of a situation, and it's laid out a little bit differently. This one's a little more, I think because this is a more wearable, like earthy color story, they made this one a little bit more beginner friendly from just little snippets that I saw on Instagram. So these are the same number of, how many shimmers are in this? 1, 2, 3. There's the same number, so it's split half and half. I kind of wish they would have just done that with this, but I think because this color story is, you've got the reds, the varying reds and the silvers, maybe didn't make sense as much. There was probably reason behind it, but very, very pretty. This killer shade looks, it's a gold with like a green shift almost. Boiler Room. They look pretty. I don't love the glove imprint that they used in this. It just kind of looks like alien, like Pumpkinhead hands. Like if you know the character Pumpkinhead, that's what his hands kind of look like. Because I feel like the glove imprint in this one is better. But I get that they wanted to make them different. But now that I've seen that, I can't unsee it. So it is what it is. And then you've got the slashes, but I like the color. This is probably one that will get used more. I like greens and I like grungy greens. So between the two, this is the one that I will probably use more. And I'll be putting a brush in it so those pan embossings won't be there long anyway. So let's talk about comparable palettes. So the first one I showed you is going to be used for the Dream Master, the Waiting Room palette from the Beetlejuice collection with Melt Cosmetics. This is a red and gray scale with silver and a black. So there isn't a matte red that goes quite as red as the Nightmare on Elm Street, but you're in the same ballpark. So when I saw it, I immediately thought of the Waiting Room palette. So that's kind of what I'm doing with these. When I see the Glamelite palette, whatever like first comes to mind, like when you take the ink blot, the Rorschach test, the first palette that comes to mind, that's kind of what I'm using. And it's not meant to be a dig at the brand because I bought these with my own money. It's just the economy is in the gutter right now. And I know there's a lot of people that cannot afford to buy these and probably feel bad that they cannot afford to buy these. So I'm doing this as if you own this, then use this and then don't feel bad that you weren't able to get that, if that makes sense. I'm just using it to kind of help people like look at their collections if they weren't able to buy it and think, oh, well, I do have this. It's a similar color story, and then focus on that rather than the negative of I couldn't buy it and I feel bad. So I'm not trying to attack the brand in any way, but the Waiting Room palette was the first one that came to mind for the red palette. And then the green palette, the earthy from, what is this, Beauty Bay? Yeah. Came to mind. There's no browns in here, but a lot of the greens, excuse me, are probably in here. And then the other palette, and again, I'm not doing this to attack the brand, and I'm not trying to go after like Jeffree Star, but Blood Money. Earthy and Blood Money were the two that I thought of, because again, you've got those like earthy browns in here. So between the two, if you own both of these, you would be all right if you didn't get the green palette. Because like I said, I'm sure there's people that couldn't get either or could only get one. So I get it. And then for the other red one, I figured since I got one Jeffree Star palette, I might as well get another one because Blood Sugar is a red palette. Not enough of a red palette, in my opinion, but I've been harping on that train for a long time. If you've been around here for a while, there's not that many reds in here, but we do have like this matte red, and then there is a metallic red in Blood Sugar that we can look at. So whilst the whole palette is not, we're not duping anything here, but between the Waiting Room and this palette, again, I can probably get in the ballpark of the red palette. So again, if you own these, use what you've got. Don't feel bad about not being able to get things, because was it Odin's Eye, the Christmas collection? I got the Christmas morning palette last year. I couldn't get the Christmas Eve one. They brought those palettes back and I was able to buy the Christmas Eve one, but I didn't get either of the new Christmas launches because I just don't have the money. So I just got the one palette and I'm making do with that. So that is kind of in the same vein of this, like, don't feel bad. And then I got this out, just, there's a hair, because I hate this palette. Hate is a strong word. Even though I've only used the greens, it makes me not want to try and use the reds in this. This is the Glamelite Nightmare on Elm Street palette. I got this on sale like a year after it launched. But this is the worst green I've ever used. Ever. And I feel like that's saying a lot. And I only used the green, and I feel like I used this beige, that's not even a beige, a peachy cream color, and then like these two shimmers, and then the Rudolph palette. Oh, that's another one that I need to get out. Where did I put that? Because that, you know, has some reds and some greens, but because I had such a hard time with this green, it has made me not want to go back and try and use the reds. Because I've thought, okay, and I filmed it. That video is on my channel. I will try and link it, but I keep this because of the packaging. And like I said, I think that's why she did two palettes, because essentially this is a Christmas palette in horror packaging. It's red and green. The Rudolph palette from ColourPop, it's on my shelf over there. Same color story, but it's in Rudolph packaging. And again, I'm not harping on the color story. It very much goes in line with Freddy Krueger. But again, this was the worst green. And you could argue, oh, well, it was a year old when you bought it. I have a 10-year-old palette that I used recently in a video, which is on my channel. The Urban Decay Electric palette is going on 10 years, and those shades work perfectly fine. So the fact that this is now like 2 years old, 3 years old, it's not that old. And it is not, I have not picked it up since. So that could also be a video where I use the other shades in this palette and see if I can make it work. But I figured it's the same packaging, but again, I think that's why she didn't do one palette, because she didn't want it to look like a Christmas palette. But I think had she known how long it was going to take, she may have just done one palette. I don't know. So anyways, then we have Friday the 13th. And again, the lenticular is really, really cool. And I think she did a phenomenal job with this color story, because I was on the fence whether or not I was going to get the Friday the 13th palette, because even though I have Jason masks, he's not my favorite. Like, I don't hate the Friday the 13th franchise. I like it probably better than Child's Play as a whole. I apologize if that offends anybody, but he's just not my favorite. So I was on the fence, but I loved the color story of this. So I picked it up, and I like how you've got the, like, this is almost looks purpley, but the swatches of this, it looks a little more brown. Like, this looks taupey to me, but you've got like color rose, and then you have some reds in here too, and I can swatch them against the ones in the Freddy palette, and then we can look at the blacks, because this has a black in here too. But really, really like this color story, so I bought it. But the palette, again, the second I saw it, even though I've never used this Blend Bunny palette, made me think of, what is this, Sugar and Grunge. I got this, when did this launch? I think I bought this within the last year. I've never used either one of my Blend Bunny palettes. I don't think. I might have used my smaller one finally. I never used this one, but I think, you know, we're kind of in the same ballpark kind of a situation. It's not, you know, straight across the board. We're not duping things here, but again, you've got, you know, the green row, you got a blue row, you got a kind of a reddy row, the brown row. I think if you had this and you couldn't get this, or whatever the situation was, I think you could get in the ballpark. So we will look at both of those. Again, it is not a dig at the brand. It is just, like I said, the economy right now is in the toilet. And I know makeup is on the very bottom of what people are spending money on right now. So again, if you happen to pick this up, I'm sure if I went through and looked, I could find something else that was older, and I may try and do that for the video just because this is a newer palette. But I'm hoping this prompts you to take a look in your collection. There is no such thing as a unique color story anymore because of the amount of stuff that exists. So you can find one or two things that are going to get you close, so you don't have to buy everything that comes out. Don't feel bad. So yeah, that is initial thoughts. That's what I've pulled for my upcoming videos. Let me know what you think of what I've pulled as far as, like I said, my Rorschach reaction when I saw the palette, because that happened with the Ghost Face palette too. My husband was sitting next to me. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, it kind of looks like a condensed version of the cremated palette. So it's like, I'm just going to do a video on that, because I was not the only person that thought that. And I do think the overall formula of the Glamelite one is better than the cremated palette, but I've also had my cremated palette for a little bit, so it's a little bit older. So yeah, when I see palettes like this, there is usually something that will pop in, and that can help sway me from buying things sometimes. But I like horror movies, so I knew I wanted to buy these for the most part, even if the makeup wasn't good. But I like Glamelite's formula, so I knew these were going to be good. Because like I said, this one's god awful, and I've only used like 4 of the shades, and again, it's made me not want to pick it up. So I have no doubt that Glamelite's palettes will be better than this. So I think I need to pull that ColourPop Rudolph palette. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about those videos. If you have any other palette recommendations, like if there's something else that you think would work alongside with the Blend Bunny, I would be curious to know. I will go through and look and see if I have anything else that's older that kind of feels like it's in the same ballpark. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure you're subscribed again if you're not already. I look forward to hearing from you. Leave me your comments. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in another video very, very soon. Bye, everybody.